Hello and welcome to my podcast, Up Your Total Glow, your podcast for your body, mind, and soul to support, guide, and empower you to uncover the most glowing, healthiest, and feel good version of you. I am super excited that you are here because if you ask me, there's nothing that looks and feels better. In today's episode, I'm speaking with the absolutely amazing Victor Manzo, or Dr. Vic. Dr. Vic is a former certified pediatric chiropractor who has become a spiritual/business mindset coach, author, and podcaster. Dr. Vic helps individuals to leverage their minds so that they can achieve their dream life without the sacrifice of time, money, health, and family. Through his work, he helps individuals to lead fulfilled, soul-filling lives. And this was an absolutely beautiful interview, and Dr. Vic spoke about so many amazing things, and among many other things he spoke about why do we actually struggle in life, what is this struggle about, why mindset is so important, is probably the answer to all of our problems, and why we are truly limitless. This interview is rich in wisdom, and if you are looking to live your most fulfilled, best life, then this interview is totally for you. Enjoy. Hello, Dr. Vic. I'm so excited to have you here. I can't wait to start this conversation with you. Thank you so much for making the time. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Okay, let's dive right into it. I would like for you to introduce yourself. I'm guessing some of my listeners might already know you. And I would also like for you to share with us a little bit of your journey.
Gotcha. So yeah, I've been a chiropractor for about the last 11, 12 years. Certified pediatrics, and I was specialized in pediatrics the last 5, 6, and then certified pediatrics in the last 2. So that's what I was doing in the beginning. And now I've kind of transitioned a little bit. I'm also a business mindset coach where I help individuals from a mindset perspective, but my background's very diverse. So I have a lot of different tools that I can use, things from spiritual truths to ancient wisdom, from universal laws to quantum physics to neuroscience and everything that relates to the mind. And I help individuals find that fulfillment. But my journey was never a straight road. If you asked me 10 years ago, can you see yourself not practicing chiropractic and being a coach, I would have looked at you and be like, only if I'm in the profession. Like I only saw myself being in the profession, but chiropractic wasn't something that was something I thought I wanted to do as a kid. I didn't have any influence on that whatsoever. In our profession, we kind of say chiropractic finds you in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to me at 19 years old, where what I thought was health. And my mom's a fitness instructor for the last 37 years. She still teaches. She's been a yoga instructor for the last 20 plus years. And so she showed me and taught me health is exercise, nutrition, and supplements. I just always saw her eating well, taking smoothies, all these different things. At 19 years old, that wasn't working for me anymore. My health was declining a little at a time, and it got to a point where I was a little concerned, and I was in the best shape of my life from a conditioning standpoint. I was playing rugby for Arizona State's club team. I was still working out 4 days a week on top of that, and it just didn't make sense. And so it wasn't until a point where I went to the chiropractor, and he's like, you got 2 months here. I'll be able to help you, and then I'm going to go back to school. And he's like, you need chiropractic care for the rest of your life. And I said, deal, let's do it. And long story short, those 2 months, all my symptoms were gone, which was shocking.
Wow.
And then 2 months later, I got in the best shape of my life. Like I went down to 10% body fat, and I was just blown away. I'm like, wait a minute, how did I get so shredded? This doesn't make sense. I've done nothing different. I'm doing the same thing. How all of a sudden did this just happen? And so that's what like intrigued me to be like, okay, I want to do chiropractic. This is so exciting to help individuals. And so that's how I got into the chiropractic realm. And then the coaching realm was a little different. I got tired of hearing all what business people are telling you to do, self-help, personal development. They're all like, you gotta grind, you gotta hustle, you gotta sacrifice, you gotta do all this stuff. And I'm reading 80 to 120 books a year. I'm doing everything I'm being told. I hit my financial peak in 5 years. But I was burned out, exhausted, and fatigued, and I was unfulfilled. And so there came a point where I'm like, you know what? I need to take all that I've learned, which was the stuff I was sharing earlier, what I do. And I said, I'm going to apply that, because if I'm truly the creator of my life, I should be able to define what success means to me and then achieve that and experience it. And so I went on that journey, and all of a sudden, I had success effortlessly, is what I teach a lot. And it was basically, I took a hit on my business because my business wasn't where I wanted it to be. So I kind of made some choices to be like, you know what, we want to be more lifestyle, holistic. We want to go into pediatrics and pregnancy and all this stuff. So he said, the patient base we have, if it doesn't align with them, then we'll just refer them to somebody. And so we took a 40% hit in 6 months, and that was by us, our choice. It wasn't like it just happened. And, a year to year and a half later, we were right back to where we were on our financial peak. I didn't do anything different, did anything new. My pediatric volume went from 5% to almost 50%. We're at 48% in 6 months. And from that, I was working 50% less than what I was doing.
Awesome.
And so from that whole story, though, I sat there and I was like, you know what? Entrepreneurs need to know this. I need to help entrepreneurs. So 3.5 years ago, I started coaching as a side hustle, and doing the coaching stuff. And then eventually this year, my wife and I moved from Chicago to Knoxville, Tennessee. And in that transition, we let the office go, and I went full time into coaching.
Amazing. Wow, there was so much in there. Yeah, this is why I'm so excited to talk to you. So you pretty much saying that you can have it all if you want to have it all. Yes, you might have to redefine yourself and set some different priorities, and maybe work on your mind. Work is a hard word. Maybe reset your mind. Is that a better word? And then you can have it all. So can you explain that a little bit more in detail? Because I want that too. We all want this. How can we have it all, Dr. Vic?
Yeah, no, when I was a kid, I always thought we can have it all. And then of course I let life condition me and people's, their beliefs. Yeah, I took them in. And then eventually there came a point where I understood, like, we're doing things backward in some way, right? You hear this all the time. We're human doers. We're not human being. We're always doing all the time. And in my studies in quantum physics and universal laws, quantum physics, it shows that everything's energy. That's one thing that has, right? So I started to go, well, if everything's energy, then what if, then I knew universal law. So I said, well, with the law of vibration, it states that you only can experience things based upon where you're vibrating at. Nothing above, nothing below, only at that vibrational tone or that frequency or the consciousness level, right? These are all different terms that are used for this. And it was one of those things where I was like, well, if that's true, then we're doing things completely backwards, because we don't need to do so much. We just need to be and focus on our vibe and just really keep our vibe at a certain state, which is elevated. Now, sometimes the mind's like, well, how do you know you're there? Well, it's not about knowing when you're there. It's just knowing at the moment of a feeling. And you know when you've been in a high vibe, when you felt good, you're excited about the day, you had maybe some joy and bliss going on, and you're just like looking forward to the experiencing what the day is going to come. That's a high vibe. Imagine having that every single day. The thing we get in our mind is we've been conditioned. This is not something that's just new. We've been conditioned on this for hundreds of years, where at least the last 120 for sure, where we have to look outside ourselves. We have to do outside. It's what we do, not what we're being. And the problem with it, and the reason why people struggle so much in ways, is because we lost that. We think, even in business, you hear so many people, well, what are the things? Well, I want to have a 7-figure business, or I want to make more money. Or if it's in health, I want to be healthier. Well, what's the things I need to do? There are things you need to do, but the thing is that you have to be first, because the same thing with energy. If you do something, but you're in a low vibration, guess what? The outcome's only going to be a low vibration. It's not going to be what you're seeking. And so to answer the question, then we have to raise our vibe. And what's our vibe? How do we, what is it? What makes that up? There's a couple things. One is your thoughts. your thoughts, you've heard this before, where your thoughts are, your thoughts, change your thoughts, change your life. That's the quote that's been talked a lot about. But thoughts are electrical. So I like to bring a little science into this. So thoughts are electrical. Your emotions are what I call the generator. It's what generates energy and creates this magnetic charge. So that's going to be magnetic. So when you take your thoughts and emotions, this becomes electromagnetic. Now you're creating a field, a force. I always throw in focus, because it's what you're looking at too is what's going to be creating that also. So you want to make sure your focus is where you want to go. Not that I have great thoughts, I got great emotions, I'm feeling good, but yeah, I just I can't see. I'm focusing on the negatives of what are going on instead of the positives, and you're trying to force it. Everything has to align in this principle. Once you do that, you just have to do that every single day. That's the work. And every day set the intention of where your vibe is. Now that's the simple part of it. The other part is the vibe stuff is great, but you also have to have a vision in your life. What do you want to achieve, or what do you want to have? What do you want to experience? Right. And I like to say experience, because in the essence, when you think we're going to have something, or I want something, we're already in a state of lack. So it's just, what do you choose to experience? That's really more of a truthful statement, or more of a truthful statement, to be more where you're actually stepping in your power. And so when you do those kind of things, this gives you the chance and gives you more of an opportunity to achieve and experience what it is you desire. And the beautiful thing about this, when you do this kind of work, sometimes it can happen faster than you would ever imagine. I'm not saying it always does that, but sometimes it can.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I love it. So how do we actively raise our vibe then if we feel we are not quite there? Yes, maybe sometimes not. Then also all the influences maybe around you. Maybe there are people in your life that are not quite as high vibing as you are. Obviously, you are creator of your life, so you have brought them into your life, but still, all these influences. So how can you take action steps to create a vibe that is high? And my other question is, because of the focus that you were describing, how can we maybe clear our mind a little bit more? For you, obviously, it's all very clear and straightforward, but for someone who doesn't have such a clear vision, such a focused mind on where they are actually going, can you maybe say something about that too?
Yeah, totally. So when we look at, generating emotions, right, let's just focus on ourselves first, and then I'll talk about the external forces. So one of the things I always teach, there's a couple ways. There's actually 3 ways I like to share that you can generate your vibe to get higher. One of the first ones is just look at your future self of who you want to become. Right now, I'm being very simplistic about this, because there are principles I teach into this where that's not a good thing to do, but in the beginning it is. So it's kind of one of those things, you learn something. It's like in school, you learn something, then after they're like, okay, well, forget that. Now this is how it is. And you're like, wait, why didn't we just learn that in the first place? And it's like, well, we had to get you used to the process, and now you're used to it. And then we can, dissect, because when you look at your future self, looking at that person and that individual of who you are, how does that make you feel? Do you get excited? Are you looking forward to that? Seeing yourself, how you're walking, how you're moving, how you're thinking, and all that. How does that feel? Some people go, I can't imagine that. Okay, what is something you want to have? Let's go material. Let's go as simple as we can. Because the key of this exercise is to really help you get in tune to what feels in the body. That's the whole principle of this. I just want you to get in tune to feel, where does it show up? Because that's something you can use down the road. And so you go that route. Some people may not be able to do, they're like, well, I can't really do that. I struggle with that. Okay, that's fine. Let's go in the past. You definitely have something in the past. And it's what gets you excited. Before my daughter was born, it was sports. It was my wedding day. It was opening up my new office. I mean, there's so many times where I was excited about stuff. Now it's my daughter. It's so easy. I just imagine myself holding her in my arms. Bam. Especially when she gives me this little smile. Done. I'm there. Right. So it's so easy to get into that vibe to set the tone for me. Now, if you're saying, that's great, Doc, I don't know about that one either, that's fine. There's a third one, gratitude, right? Just a gratitude practice is one of the easiest things you can do. And one of the things I'll challenge the listeners is, if you say, well, I do gratitude, I'm good at gratitude already, I've done this already. Okay, here's my challenge for you. I want you to write out 200 to 300 things that you're grateful for. 200 to 300. I've done this exercise many times, and it is so hard to get past like 60, 70, 80. I mean, I can work my way up to 200, but the principle of doing that type of exercise is to make you appreciate the smallest things in life. Right? Like when I go push start my car, it goes on. Man, I'm so grateful my car turned on. Man, I'm so grateful the engine's working properly. I'm so grateful the people who worked on this car allows me to get from point A to point B. That's 3 things. And I just pushed the button on my car. Then I can, on my way to drive there. Man, I'm so grateful that the traffic was the way it was. It wasn't so bad to me to get there. I'm so grateful I didn't get in an accident, so I made it here. I'm so grateful that there was a parking spot available. It's like the littlest. I just did 6, 7 things right off the bat there. And so that's something that you can practice. And it's something that you don't want to, our mind is very used to patterns. So this is where it becomes a trick on you, because you'll start to go to what I call checking off the boxes. Like, oh, I'm just, okay. Yep. Just doing gratitude. Yep. That's it. All right. I did it. Great. I should work then. And it's like, no. It's a feeling. That's why I said at the end of the day, you got to get knowing where that feeling is, because that's going to be the essence of your energy vibrating. So what happens when you have people around you that aren't at that vibe? Well, there's 2 things you can do. Create boundaries, which may seem sounds easier than especially if it's with family, or minimize your exposure to them, right? Just slowly start to distance yourself. Because at the end of the day, if someone constantly, I always tell people, like, if you're with somebody, here's a great gauge to know if you should be around certain people. If you're with somebody and afterwards you feel worse than when you were when you first got there, and it's not just one time. So I don't ever recommend one time, because some people are in bad states and they need help. So they soak the energy. It's not a bad thing. That's how relationships are. We help each other. But if it's a consistent thing, that's something you want to let your body's trying to tell you that this isn't good for you. Whether you may like the person mentally or something, it doesn't mean they're a bad person. It's just, it's not linked to where you're going or where you're moving towards. And that's a hard thing to do. But it's one of the things, like when I do this kind of work, when I work with clients, they always, after a few months of working with me, they're always blown away. I wouldn't say all the time, but most of them are, where like their friend circle or their family circle that they were with a lot starts to like break up, or things start to happen where they're not connected as much. And they're like, why is this happening? And I'm like, you're changing your vibe. You're redirecting yourself. You're really focusing on, you're separating yourself from the conditioning of what that consciousness level is of the people that are around, and you're stepping out of it. So what's going to happen is if they step out of it too, then things will be fine. If they don't, it's going to create some disturbance in the relationship. And so those are the things there. And then I apologize. The second question was, I'm going blank.
How to clear the mind. But let's just talk about this for a moment, because again, there were so many amazing, juicy things in there. And I love all the 3 hacks that you gave us. I personally find gratefulness so powerful, but I can totally relate to what you said. Make sure you can feel it in your body, have this little check there, because I used to do gratitude like a list, okay, check it off, without actually really honing into the energy of it. So then it wasn't powerful, obviously. And that's exactly what you said. So I love that. And I'm wondering, why is it that we have become so cut off our bodies? I see that in my practice all the time, that we actually have lost complete, or maybe not complete, but quite a bit, connection to ourselves, because I believe actually where we came from, we probably had all this, and then I don't know, we are losing it, or all this conditioning that you mentioned before, and now it's become hard and we can't even feel into ourselves. Is that a weird question, or?
No, it is. And I think it's great. I mean, it's a huge, I mean, a lot of times we look at where we are as human civilization, and we're like, how we evolved, and we're like, look how well modern technology we are. We're the most advanced civilization ever. And I look and I go, no, we're not. I go, we went backwards. I go, look at, I mean, I won't get it. Like, I've studied a lot of ancient civilizations, and I like technology and what they did, mind boggling. I don't like, look at I always say, like, if you think we're so far advanced, look at the Incas and how they just built their walls, right? They tried in today's world, we tried with our laser guided cutting and everything that we have, and we still could not get it to be, they don't even use mortar or mud. I always go, that I like building stuff, so you can tell I'm interested in that. But I look and I go, that alone blows me away compared to other things. But reason why I say that though is because we lost connection with ourselves, because we let the human world, we became so human, which is not a bad thing to a certain degree. We had to go through that. Like everything I always talk about, I said nothing's bad in life. It's the process we have to go through. But we're coming to a point where now we're switching back, and we're going back to connecting and what's really valuable to us. And the problem is we're lost as humans when it comes to that, because we've been so conditioned over so many years about, here's the physical world, this is how life is, here's what it is, and we've let our minds dictate the world. And when we do that, we mute the colors of life, because our mind, especially the left brain specifically, is very linear logical, so compartmentalizes everything and makes everything more gray and black and white, instead of the multitude of colors what life has to offer. And that's why you see so much of, look how complex the world is now today. Look how complex when it comes to just health. I mean, my message to people was, I always shared the simplicity of health. It doesn't have to be complicated. And they'd be like, no, but what if this happens? What if this happens? And I'm like, but those are small chances. Like focus, again, that's why I talk about focus a lot. Focus on what you want to experience. I'm not saying that may not happen, but you have a lot of control on what can show up for you. That's just in health. Business is the same thing. Oh, starting a business is so complicated. How complicated is it? Like I tell people all the time, my goal with working with clients is to get them back to being a 3-4-year-old. Now, I don't mean that from an emotional maturity level or anything like that. But what I mean is, if you ever look at a 3-4-year-old and you've ever been around them, they first off, they're at their peak imagination state. Second, they don't care really what people think. They just do what they love. Right. And I tell people, if you just do that, like what a 3-4-year-old does, you've mastered life. You mastered manifestation. You mastered law of attraction. You mastered all those things, because when you're generating, this is why thoughts and emotions, right? When you're generating that high vibe, when you're generating that every single time, it is just a matter of time. What you want to experience in your physical realm is going to show up. But we've been so indoctrined for so long, and the information era only makes it worse. Not that that's a bad thing. It's great to have information, but we let information dictate our lives. This is why a lot of the stuff I teach, I want to get people out of their minds. I use the body as a tool. And how do you know what shows up in a feeling that's a good vibe? When you're in alignment. But you have to tie the brain in, because the brain wants to pick up on patterns. It needs to know what's pain and pleasure, needs to know where threats are or not. And so if you say, hey, when I feel this is really good, this means I'm in alignment, this means I'm moving towards where I need to go, or this is going to help with fulfillment. And this is why I want to make sure that you just make me know in my consciousness. You can have this conversation with your brain if you want. Some people think you're crazy, but you can just set that intention to be like, when this happens, this is what that means. Done. And then you just keep programming that into the brain to eventually it'll rewire to that process. And all of a sudden it becomes a natural thing where you're like nowadays in my life, I'm always like, yep, that's a good thing. I'm going with it. Why are you going with it? I have no clue. Then why are you making that choice? That's kind of foolish. No, you know what? But the feeling's telling me, and I know that that feeling means I'm in alignment. It's something good for me. And as long as I trust it, I go towards, and all of a sudden it's like, maybe it's not in the beginning, but it will be. All of a sudden I look back and go, man, what a great choice that was. I'm so glad I was guided that way.
I love that, because in the end, it's actually really simple and empowering. If we can bring it all back to, how does it feel in my body, and really listen to that and align with that, actually, we should all be able to come back to that 3-4-year-old self. I also absolutely love that you separated the brain from the mind here, because I feel that maybe this is where some of our imprisonment lies, that, the mind is directing us. It has to be this and that way. And we have learned in the past, this is dangerous. And there are these limiting beliefs and I don't know, that traumas, or I don't know. And then we react in this way. Whereas the brain, for me, is something different. The brain holds amazing information. And if we don't have it as conditioned, but rather connected to the body and read this information as what it is, it feels good, it doesn't feel good. Yes, maybe be careful there, but not, with all that load of scary and painful stuff that the mind is then putting into it. I feel we can live a very different life. So if I understood that correctly, I love that separation that you made here. And the other thing, yeah, you go.
No, go ahead.
And the other thing that I thought was so powerful when you spoke about the Incas, or, you know, about other civilizations of in our past and how advanced they were, I feel exactly the same. You know, that I have studied quite a bit of Ayurveda and love Ayurveda. And for me, you know, this science of health, of life was just, or is just so advanced, so mind-blowing. And we have come so far away from this. And I feel really it hasn't done us much of a favor. Of course, when it comes to saving lives, amazing. You know, we have got this emergency medicine, which is amazing. And thanks for God, because otherwise I wouldn't be alive. But when it comes to preventative medicine and to really health and wellness, you know, I feel, yeah, we've got a lot to return back, or to return home to those old sciences where it was about, you know, creating balance in your life, coming back home to your body, which is pretty much all that you've been saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we've lost the art of connecting with nature and using nature for what it is.
Exactly.
And there was a quote I heard one time. It's so true. Humans have learned now to live on Earth, but not live with Earth, but live, you know. And I heard that and I was like, that is so true.
Yes.
Like, we don't connect. Everything's a fear. We don't know how to, like, if there's, you know, I live near the Smoky Mountains. So like, oh, black bears, we got to keep them in where they are. And it's like, but if you just let nature take care of itself, they know where they're going to be and they got their place and we have ours. And if they come near, you know how to work with nature so that you don't have those kind of things. But another thing you're bringing up that I wanted to share, because this comes up a lot, and this is how we're conditioned. If I say your mind, right, where do you think your mind's located?
In my brain.
Right? Or if I say mind, people think of the brain. But those are two different things, because the mind, it's all throughout the whole entire body. Because if you think about that for a second, I remember when I was in chiropractic school, this discussion came up and everyone thought the same thing. Where's the mind? Well, the mind's here. No, that's your brain. Well, yeah, but isn't the mind where the brain is? And that's consciousness. And they're like, who told you that? And I'll be like, crap.
So empowering.
Because what he was trying to do is show how conditioned we are. And I sat there and I'm like, so good. Well, please explain. And he goes, here's an example. It was a girl who had, when she was born, she had some condition where the total part of, she only had the outer lining of her brain. That's it.
Wow.
So she shouldn't have memory. Okay. So she should have no memory because it wasn't existing, but yet she had, and it was only on the right side of her brain, but she had memory and she could remember things and everything.
Yes.
And that was a point where they were like, we think we know what we know, but we don't.
Yeah.
You know, so anyhow, go ahead.
And that's the same, you know, when I had my brain aneurysm and, you know, my whole left side apparently wasn't working at all. But yet I had this knowing that I would be able to recover, even though everyone told me, no, you can't. And, you know, you'll be now disabled. I hope that's the right word. I don't want to offend anyone. And for the rest of your life, which all of this I didn't really understand, but I just knew I can recover, let them talk. And, you know, I was 15 years old. I had no idea, but luckily probably one part of my brain wasn't really working. So I had this deeper knowing, this deeper understanding. Yeah. I love all of what you're saying. Let's get it back a little bit to how can we focus more? If someone feels, okay, I don't really have a vision for my life, and I find it really hard to visualize things in general. How can we hone into this better and also clear the mind maybe a little bit more?
I love this because a lot of times today, creativity is one thing that's going down because we're so stressed. So we got to look at the nervous system. How do we center and balance the nervous system? How do we reset the nervous system in some way, shape, or form? Those are the things I usually are my go-tos. And my biggest tool that I love, but it is very hard and it's getting harder for people to do because it takes a lot of work, is meditation. Now, meditation is so easy to do, but why I say it's hard is because our attention span is less than a goldfish now, which is 8 seconds. And I think it's even less than that now. And why is that important? Well, because it's for meditation, you just have to focus. I'm not saying to go sit in a room, closed room, dark for 4 hours. You don't have to do that. You can walk and meditate. You can shave and meditate. You can shower and meditate. You can wash dishes and meditate. You can work out and meditate. All it means is you're focusing on something. That's all meditation is. But let's go ahead and let's look at other things that are a little bit more on the simple side, because when we can center the nervous system and get it more in a balanced state or reset it, then all of a sudden we can access higher centers of the brain, which is where creativity is going to be at, and so much more. Because when you're in a stress state, you're in a survival state. Now that's just neurologically, right? But then the body goes into a survival state. And then what happens is the brain has to go into a survival state, because that's where everything's leading. So this is where creativity is not in a survival state. That's a growth state. And so we have to shift that. So the easiest thing that I like to recommend is breath work. We have a part of when you breathe, you have part of your brain. If you open your mouth right behind your throat, there's a part of your midbrain. There's a cluster of neurons there called the breath pacemaker. And what this is all designed to do is just pick up on your respiratory rate, how well you're breathing. And it will influence, this is how we can influence what's known as your autonomic nervous system, the nervous system that runs on its own. So if you slow down your breathing, it will slow down the tone of the nervous system. If you rev your breathing, it will rev up the tone of the nervous system. That's why when you're angry, frustrated, have anxiety, anxiousness, those kind of things, you're short of breath and you're more upper respiratory breathing. And so you don't get that nice deep breath. But so any type of breath work, I mean, there's so many out there that you can utilize. One of the ones I like to go towards are things like a Wim Hof style or a holotropic style, which is very similar, just different. But for those, sometimes people feel like it revs them too much. So I'm like, well, then you can do like a soma breath work or square breathing or some pranayamas in yoga. And there's so many YouTube videos out there that you can look at all this up. But this is going to allow you then to recenter your nervous system. It's one of the quickest ways. You can do a breathwork session in 5 to 10 minutes. You're going to feel calm and relaxed. If you do this for 2 weeks to about 2 months, give or take, people say how they could go deep into a state of being, and from a mindset perspective, that yogis try to do for 20 to 30 years, just from breathing, right? Most simple tool that you can do. And it's one I recommend often, but there's so many others that you can do. You know, we got meditation, you got breath work. One of the things I tell people too, if that's too much and you're like, I don't know, just jump in cold water, fill up your tub with ice and hop in, check the temperature, hop in for, 2 minutes. That's all you need is 2 minutes. And what that does is, when you go into cold, if you don't have access to that, you can take a cold shower.
Exactly.
It's another one you can do. And the key factor is your brain goes into a state of survival. So whatever you're worrying about, all that stuff, it has to shut all the energy that was giving to that off and go into survival. So it's just like anything in your life. When you've been in a stressful situation, let's say you were worrying about something, and then you find out everything was fine, and you get that sense of relief coming over you. The endorphins start to kick in, all these other things. That's what this is going to do. And it'll help you just kind of center a little bit. And I mean, there's research on, you can Google the benefits of cold plunges or cold showers. I like cold plunges just because I like the intensity all at once. I breathe through it, and then I'm in this pure bliss state. I know it sounds weird when I'm in I have 40, 50 degree water. It sounds, I don't know how you can have bliss. Everyone looks at me like I'm crazy. And I just want to be clear for all the listeners. I do not like cold water. So just to be clear, I do not like this, but that's more enticing for me to do it. And, but there's a bliss state that comes because why? There's a moment of cold that's hitting my body. And then I have to, once my breathing is regulated, then I have to focus on being very centered in the present, because if I don't, I feel the intensity of the cold. But if I stay present and centered, then all of a sudden I don't feel the cold. And when you're present and centered, really in the present moment, well, one of the emotions that come from that is bliss, joy, calm, peace, groundedness. Those are usually the 5 that come when you're in that level. And for me, it's just a bliss state. Like, I'm not like happy and just dancing in the water. I'm just sitting there, but I'm so centered and calm. But then I just feel like this inner joy, but you don't see me expressing it, because it's an inner joy that I feel because I'm so centered and grounded. So cold water can do that. So meditation, breath work, cold water. Sometimes journaling helps too. Sometimes you just have to get stuff out. Like, you just start thinking of a thought and you just let your mind go. It's anything that we can do. So I said calming the nervous system. The other thing is getting out of your mind. So what gets you out of your mind? What's creative? What do you like to do? That's just a hobby or something. Like, for an example, I love cooking. I've been cooking since I was 6 years old. And one of the things I've been working, I just started doing this about a month ago, a little over a month ago, is getting back into sourdough baking. I don't like baking per se, but I do enjoy sourdough because it's so healthy, right? It breaks down the grains. Being a health nut guy that I am, everyone says gluten's bad and grains are bad, and we can have that kind of conversation. I've read the research, I've read the books already, but I always believe when it comes to health, when something has been eaten for so long, thousands of years, but now all of a sudden it's bad, that makes my radar go off going, hold on, here's something wrong. We changed something along the way.
Totally.
Right. And something's just been changed. Right. So you look at how we used to make breads. And I remember studying, because I'm Italian. So we live off carbs, and if you look at longevity, we're one of the longest living, from a not living year wise, longevity in the sense of having a life. I mean, there's 98, 99-year-olds, they go for a mile walk up and down stairs, and they'll have they go to the bar, which is like a coffee shop. They'll have something there and they walk back and they're active all day long, and they're 98, 99. And I'm like, man, you're my idol. And they eat carbs all the time. So I'm like, there's something we've changed in the process. And so that's why I was always into sourdough, because when I found out about years ago, I found out about sourdough and what it does to the bread and how it opens up all the nutrients. I was like, okay, well, that's why, okay, it breaks down this. Well, that rules that, why that's an issue. Wow, it makes gluten more digestible and breaks it down. Well, that rules that out. Wow, so it was just like, so that's where, that's my passion. I just love, now I'm in the like, I look at my wife, what do you want to have? I'll make this. We want to make that. We'll try this out. We want to do this.
Awesome.
So you got to find, so I know I'm going on a little tangent, but to bring it all back, you got to, when you start to do things that just are fun for you, your creativity is going to come back from that, because now you're getting away from the seriousness, the lockdown of just, this is what I do and I'm robotic and this is how it is, to be like, how can I be creative? What can I create today? What can I do here? How can I do this? You're going back to that 3-4-year-old. And that's the more you feed that, the more it's going to come.
I love that. And I work a little bit similar with my clients who want to get back into movement and, have done formal exercise that didn't serve them or that they actually hated. And then it became more of I have to work out because I want to lose weight, or like this kind of punishment relationship. And the way I like to go about this is also ask them, what kind of movement did you really enjoy as a child? Because we all are built to move. We do love movement. Yes, we might, fall in and out of some forms of movement, and some forms of movement suit us better at certain stages in life than others, of course, but we are built to move, and we can all love some form of movement. So I love what you said there. Again, there was so much beauty and richness in what you said. I feel I could talk with you forever. So we definitely have to schedule a second interview. I just wanted to quickly say something about those cold plunges. And I love that you then said also, or do cold showers, because it really depends on your schedule in the morning. And cold plunges for me, for example, are out of the radar totally. But I do my cold showers, and like you, I hate cold water. Yeah, for me, that's, but it has changed my entire morning. And now I really look forward to those cold showers, not because I enjoy standing in the cold water, but because of what it does to me after and how it changes my entire day. And I also feel that everything that you have said, absolutely yes. But also for me, it builds another muscle. It builds this muscle of, I can do this. I can take every morning a cold shower, and I feel so much more empowered and so much stronger. Yes, also all the good endorphins and all these things are happening, but it's also this self-confidence muscle that does something for me. And I think that's such a small thing, and we all have showers. And yes, I started small, just with the legs and the arms, but yeah, if I can do this, I think everyone can do it. And with the breathing, I just wanted to add, I have also realized, and I'm very guilty of that too. And I'm a yoga teacher, so it's even more funny when I say that, but that most of us have even forgotten how to breathe fully and deeply. So for a very long time, I was sitting in my yoga classes and I wasn't able to do deep belly breathing. Yes. Funny. But it's the total truth. And the meditation for me was so hard to do. My mind was all over the place, and it still is sometimes, but I think the difference is I'm not freaking out about it anymore. I'm like, okay, I'm observing, interesting, but I'm not judging anymore myself for it. And then I see, okay, do I need a different form of focus? How, maybe I need more movement and then do it, or is it just this way today? Then I'm just not as focused. Yeah. So thank you very much for giving us all those hacks, how we can live our best, most fulfilled, happiest lives. I would like to ask you for 3 gold nuggets. So how can we maybe live a life that is less full of struggle and happier and more fulfilled?
All right. So the first is you want to shift your focus, right? Because what struggle is resistance. So is everything happening for you or happening against you, right? You have to see everything happening for you. Everything's in your benefit. I always say there's no losses. There's nothing bad that happens, because at the end of the day, life is life. There's no meaning to life. Truly, I know some people hear that and they go, what do you mean there's meaning? I'm like, there's no meaning to life except what you put on it.
Yeah.
So when you really understand that,
true.
I look at everything at life and go, here comes a new blessing that's going to teach me something and help me. Here's, and somebody can go, man, I don't know how you handle that. How'd you go through that? Well, what do you mean? It was, look all the good stuff that came from it. Yeah, but isn't it a hard time? Yeah, of course it's a hard time. And maybe I had some weak moments in there too, but which is fine. I'm human. I'm vulnerable. That's perfectly fine. That's where my power is. But at the end of the day, I'm like, this is going to benefit me in some way, shape, or form. So understanding that the universe and everything is always working for you, it's always going to give you what you need to move closer to where you want to go.
So
right?
true.
The second is, and it relates to the first, but it's a little different, is you have to trust that process.
Yeah.
Now, trusting is not in the mind. It comes from the heart.
Yeah.
You have to trust and know that all things are always going to work out. And if you want to work with the mind a little bit, go look at your past, because you will always connect the dots to, and I've done this so many times. You can always connect the dots to look and go, everything always worked out the way it was supposed to. It may not have been what I thought it should have been in the moment, but when I look afterwards, I look back and you go, okay, I'm starting to see how that aligned. And you can go back to your childhood, with traumas and stuff. There's all this stuff that you can pull and extrapolate from that and look and go, I can see why that happened now. Wow, look at what this helped me to be here. How can I help others now? Or whatever it may be. So always look back to connect the dots, because the answers will always be there to know that everything works out for the greater. That's where the trust comes. The third is, I would say, is faith is a big one. Now, I don't mean faith from religious standpoints. I mean it from knowing, to know within. Now, this may be a little bit related to trust, but I think I like to separate the two, because trust is like, okay, universe, God, whatever, I know you're going to guide me and help me. Inner faith is knowing that you can do this. You can achieve X, Y, Z, whatever that is. And you don't need reasons of why. You don't need to, there's no logic here. It's just, deep within that you're going to do that.
I love that. That was me, my 15-year-old self, just knowing I would be able to recover. And I still have no explanation for that. And, my parents didn't have any explanation for that. No one did. And yeah, so I so love what you said. Honestly, I could talk forever with you. I feel there is so much more you have to say, and I would love to hear, and my audience as well. But where can we find you?
Yeah. So my website's my hub for everything. EmpowerYourReality.com. I have free resources on there. My podcast is on there. I got a free book on power of visualization.
Amazing.
If you're interested in coaching from a business standpoint, I have a free discovery call there. Social media wise, bottom left corner of the website, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok. Any questions or anything, just reach out. Love hearing from people.
Fantastic. And of course, I will put all of these in the show notes. Thank you so much for your time today. I am beyond grateful for you and for the amazing work that you do, and that you help to make our place a healthier, happier place. Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you for all the work you're doing. I greatly appreciate all the your light and the gifts that you're sharing with the world. It's much needed in this time.
Take care.
You too.
If you enjoyed this interview, then please do me a little favor and help me to make our world a healthier, happier place. And you can do so by liking, subscribing, sharing, and reviewing my podcast, because this helps others to find my podcast. And when they find it, maybe this can help them to enrich their lives and become a healthier, happier version of themselves. Please never forget that you were born to live your best life, and that your body is absolutely beautiful, your mind brilliant, and your soul boundless. So what are you still waiting for? Please make sure you live your best life ever. I know you can, I know you will. I'm your total cheerleader. I believe in you. Keep glowing. Much love.